Antigua is one of our favorite cities in the whole world. When we lived in Guatemala, we would come here if we wanted a little getaway. Sure, it can be a little touristy, but there are so many things about Antigua that keep bringing us back. For example, we love how it seems that at every turn, there's an epic view of one of the volcanoes or the mountains that surround the city. The cobblestone streets and the plethora of old Spanish-era buildings often make you feel like you've stepped back in time. Almost every time we've come to Guatemala, we've stayed in El Hostal Bed and Breakfast. Now this place is clean, quiet, and it even includes breakfast, so we definitely recommend this place. Now there's lots to see and do in Antigua, but there's some things you should definitely check out if you go there. One is El Parque Central, which includes its interesting central fountain that actually has a really fascinating history. Right next to another beautiful park sits Tanque La Unión, which used to be where the women of Antigua would gather together to do their laundry. Cerro de la Cruz is where you can get a panoramic view of the city. Unfortunately, it was pretty hazy the day we went up there. And probably the most famous attraction in Antigua is El Arco de Santa Catalina. This arch, which was originally built in 1694, wasn't built to be pretty, but rather it was built so that the nuns who lived in a convent on one side of the street could cross over to the school on the other side of the street without being seen. The street is closed during the weekends, so it becomes a pedestrian area complete with many street performers. There's plenty of other things to do and see in Antigua, like the Choco Museo, which is really fun. The Jade Museum is interesting, and there's plenty of shops to go to try to find a souvenir. Not to mention, there's going to be plenty of local people walking around trying to sell you things. On this trip, we decided to do something we hadn't done before in Antigua, which was a Guatemalan food tour through Taste Antigua. Our guide Ariana took us all around the city, taught us about some history, and showed us some local food. For example, we went to El Portón, where we ate jocón, which is a soup made of cilantro, tomatillo, and onion. It was super delicious. We also visited a Guatemalan sweet store called Doña Maria Gordillo Sweets, where we sampled guava candy. It sort of tasted like a natural fruit roll-up. Pretty tasty. We ate pupusas, which is technically from El Salvador, and a super good Guatemalan sausage at Odilia's. And she also took us to a small, almost hidden restaurant that we had actually eaten in once before called La Concha. So the front of the restaurant is actually a little store, and you have to go behind the counter to actually enter the restaurant. So if you didn't know it was there, you would never know about it. So one bonus of booking this tour is that she emailed us a food guide to the city with a list of her favorite places to eat and drink. So during the rest of our stay, we mostly ate at places she recommended, and we were not disappointed. Taku. Mexican tacos in Guatemala? Believe it. Not only does it have a really cool name, but these tacos were the best tacos I've had since we were in Tijuana. And you gotta love the presentation. Speaking of tacos, we also checked out another taco place on her list called Cactus Taco Bar, which was opened by a guy from Mexico City. They were pretty tasty there too. Moving on from tacos, we also ate at an Argentinian steakhouse called Ni Fu Ni Fa, which was delicioso. Another night we tried a restaurant called Las Antorchas, which specializes in cooking their meals on a charcoal fire, which made it super delicious. We also tried a flight of beers at Antigua Brewing Company, which, funny story, after we arrived, we realized, hey, we've eaten at this place years ago with our friends, but it had a different name. For many, the first thing they think of when they hear Antigua is coffee. Now, our favorite coffee place we went to was Café Estudio, which not only had fantastic cappuccino and iced coffee, but they had an amazing view of the city on their second floor terrace. And of course, there are many coffee plantations around Antigua. We booked an ATV experience while we were there that took us to one of these coffee plantations called La Azotea. Turns out this plantation supplies some of the coffee for Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, among other places. But one of the cool things about this tour, in addition to just seeing how they grow the coffee and how they process it, was seeing how they dry it. Now, here in Antigua, most of the plantations use the sun to dry the coffee, but they have to turn it every hour to make sure it dries evenly. But you notice when they're turning the coffee, they're also stepping on the coffee. So think about that the next time you're sipping your Starbucks Antigua blend. No worries though, because they do roast it after they dry it. So I'm sure any bad stuff is being cooked away, right? Another place our guide recommended that we check out was the ruins of what was once the Cathedral of San Jose. It was destroyed in one of the many earthquakes that rocked Antigua in the past. Today, the ruins are still beautiful and impressive to behold. So, that's Antigua. Next time you're looking for a new place to go, put it on your list. You won't be disappointed.